A quick hi from India to all the fellow Drupalers in England. This session today would be on mastering UI patterns in Drupal. We'll be seeing like how to build reusable and dynamic components in Drupal. So I'll just quickly introduce myself. So my name is Paritoshik Paul. So I'm a Google professional cloud architect, tech speaker, and I have been GSOC mentor. I have been mentoring GSOC as well as an agile expert. So I have bought in northern side of India. It's Himalayas there, and it's very peaceful. So if you plan to come to India, just say me a hi. So this is a scan code for my Drupal .org profile. So on Drupal, I'm as an alias the Drupal kid. So that's pretty much it about me. So you can scan my code. I'll just quickly talk about my mantra for life. So someone like me also gave me 15 years back. They also came to my college and introduced Drupal to me. At that time, Drupal 6 was there, and it was they introduced Drupal as well as open source. I was really excited about open source, like what open source is, how that community works, how this all code is open source, right? And I started it 15 years back. Now I'm here with you guys. So this is my mantra. I have learned this in my life. If you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. If you teach a man to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. So yeah, so this is pretty much what I feel, and I talk about in camps, conferences, and also in India in various colleges, schools, to introduce open source to the students, other people, right? So who don't know about open source or Drupal. So that's pretty much all about me. So I'll move forward. So I I think most of the people will have a question here, right? For UI patterns. So if we have SDC, why UI patterns, right? So I've prepared this quick slide to just differentiate between SDC and UI patterns. So when we say like I'll not talk about line by line, but I'll quickly give you guys a gist. So basically, single directory components, like it's a file structured way of getting a component developed in Drupal, right? But UI pattern suite is an ecosystem of modules, right? It has set of modules, and you can also use it for a like, you can develop a design system using UI patterns, right? So you have a component library, right, which you usually in front end development you have a storybook in there, right? So it maps to that, and once you have the all the components documented in that particular UI pattern library, you can just implement in your site, right? So it is really seamless. But apart from UI patterns, the SDC is just a core right capabilities of creating components. So that's why it is very really important, right? So it is the next step when you start developing a, SDC. You can move your front end if it is a coupled one or progressively decoupled as well. So you can move it to UI patterns. So I'll move to the next slide. Uh, so uh, Before getting into UI patterns module, right? So it is based on a theory. So you can say like it is how UI patterns evolved in Drupal is there is already a theory in front end development which is called UI patterns theory. If you go to UI patterns lab, you will see like this. So it like evolution, right? How it evolved in Drupal. So there is a theory, and based on that theory, it all depends. So it says like you have atoms, molecules, and organisms, right? So atoms uh, more than one atom becomes a molecule, right? And then if you combine more molecules, it becomes an organism, right? So if you see atom in this case in UI, right, we can consider it as an input field, right? Or maybe a button. So element, any element we can consider as an atom. So if we combine those, like maybe two of them, right, it becomes a input text and a button. So it becomes a molecule, right? And then we can build an organism out of it. So this is theoretically back of the scenes. This is where it depends on. So if you combine all like text, button, or some of the links, right, on an image, it becomes an organism. So the same theory we are also seeing in UI patterns as well as in SDC, right? So I'll move to the next slide. So now getting into UI pattern suite, right? So if you go to this particular link, you will find like UI pattern suite is not, you do not find a composer command to just install it, because it is just a composer JSON inside it, right? And in the inside that composer JSON, you have a set of modules, like you have UI patterns, UI pattern blocks, then skins, icons, right? So all those modules you have. So why this is a separate page from all those modules? Because it talks about that ecosystem what I'm talking about, right? So you can create UI patterns, which will be like your components, right? You can create so we call it patterns because it is just not a component. I'll show you in the demo. So you can have UI styles, UI skins, and you can have that whole ecosystem if you want to build it in a Bootstrap, or you want to use some like Daisy UI, right? So any framework also you want to use, you can use. There are suites for that as well. So I'll be using UI Bootstrap suite in my demo. So I'll be showcasing that one. So this is something like, you can say, an ecosystem where all the UI pattern modules comes together, or like there is this ecosystem where we have a module called theme called UI suite Bootstrap. So you can use that. So we'll be using that theme, and that will come with predefined pre-built modules inside that. So I'll show you that as well. So I'll move to the next one. So what is UI patterns, right? So UI patterns is basically it is leveraging SDC API only, right? But you can what you can do in the next level, right? So you can build blocks, right? UI pattern blocks. You can also build field formatters, views, right? So it actually integrates really well with Drupal, right? You can just put a pattern on a particular page, right? Giving it has different variants. You can give data inputs to that particular component. How should it look like? What all data points it will have? So I'll just showcase you in the demo. So I'll be quickly forwarding on this particular slide where you see, right? So if you have a Drupal without UI suite, and if you have a Drupal with UI suite, so here, if you see, it is partially site buildable. So partially site buildable means like you do not have more control if you do not have UI suite. So if you have UI suite, you can just integrate that into that site building of Drupal, and your content editors, your marketing people can easily use those patterns, and it is more of a dynamic way of doing SDC. And if you see in the business layer also, right? So if you see a lot of areas it covers if you use UI suite, and it brings a lot of reusability, right? And also it brings you the developer workflow, right? Which we create, right? So in the storybook they'll have a defined workflow. If they want to use a table, let's say, and there are 10 pages using that table, and it can have different variations, so that all will be documented inside UI pattern library. And from that documentation they can see, okay, what all variants we have. And even site builders can also see what developers have developed. So this is a cohesive experience kind of for development, marketing, and everyone, where they see that documentation. Okay, so I can use this particular variation which a developer has developed, and I can put that onto a page. So that documentation tells them what variations and how that component behaves when we put that into a page. So that is kind of a very useful factor of using UI patterns. Even for prototyping, if you want to use, right? So you can just create a design system, and for prototyping also, it's very quick prototypes you can create using this. Even like performance wise, it will be better because you will not be creating 10 different components for the same component, and it can have a 10 different variations if you need, right? It should not be like you created 10 different components, and it'll impact your performance, right, by the end of the day. So it's always good if you use UI patterns. So I think more talking, right? So we'll get into now code a bit, and I'll be explaining UI patterns as blocks. Then I'll be also showing you guys UI suite, Bootstrap suite, which I talked about, and as a design system, right? How you can use that particular suite as a design system in your projects. And UI pattern I'll show you. It is kind of a storybook for all the components, and then modules that complement UI patterns, right? So I'll just quickly stop sharing and I'll share my other tab. Just give me a moment. Just let me know once it is visible.
Yeah, that works.
Okay. So you see, like, right, so I have a Bootstrap here installed. So I have not installed a Bootstrap theme here. What I did is, so this is the vanilla install of Drupal. So I just installed a vanilla ddev instance of Drupal 11, and I just installed this UI Bootstrap US Suite Bootstrap theme. So you just have to, there's a composer command, just hit that, and you'll have this theme. Just set as default, and you'll have the whole suite of Bootstrap in your project, right? So now I'll show you how this suite can help you to build your own design system with a theme where you can build your HTML, JS components, React components, Lit components, or whatever you want, right? So it can be scalable to what you want. So but the foundation, I'll be just showing you how it looks like. So I'll just go to settings. So what I was talking about, the real documentation piece, right, of all the components. So you go to settings of that particular theme, you have UI libraries. So here you just click on components. So here you can theme it better. It's just a demo, right? So you can have more to it, like maybe a pretty theme, but it has all the components.
I don't think you're sharing the components. We just see the website.
Okay, let me. I think now you can see the screen where appearance screen of Drupal.
Yeah, that we can see the theme selection.
Right, so this was, I think, I was talking about. So this is the UI suite Bootstrap theme, where it bundles all together for you, and I'll be now showing you the libraries. So what I was showing, saying, like, the whole component library you have. So if you click on that components library in the themes page, you land onto this page. So this is similar to Storybook, if you guys have used it. So if you see, there are all the components, right, which you see in the Bootstrap framework. So there is a card component. Then you can just also click and see like what happens. So I can just click on maybe accordion, right? So you can see the behavior of the component, how it looks, and even like the different variations, how it looks, and which one to choose at the time when you are site building, right? So there are a lot of components you see, right? So all the components here will be listed, which will be provided by your UI Bootstrap suite Bootstrap. So you have all the components you can use. So I'll just quickly scroll so that you can see how there are too many components. Even layouts, it integrates with the layouts as well. So all that is documented here. So the first step, right, for a design system is to bring all those atoms, molecules, and organisms to a documentation, right, which we call, like, in front end world, a storybook. So it is all here. right? So you can now tell your site builders, if you want to embed a component onto a page, refer to this documentation and choose. Maybe you can see different variants and select that particular variant, because they'll be knowing how it will be looking like and how it will behave also. So this is a documentation. So from Figma, you have a design in Figma, just create your let's say you have 10 designs in Figma, they can use a same nav, right? And maybe a different nav onto a different page with a different variation, but it will be a same component throughout those 10 pages, right? So you now need to divide your Figma into list of components you have, and then you also map it to how many variations you need in that Figma. So design team can help you with that, and then you just map, you just start creating your own components like this in UI pattern. So that will be a way of designing a design system for your own project. So I'll just quickly now show you. So how you can embed these components to a page, right? For before that, I'll show you what capability, all capabilities it have, right? So we have set of modules. So if you see, there are lot of modules: icon module, pattern blocks module. This I'll be showcasing. And then you have views as well. You can create patterns views. It very well fits with views. And then also, like, you can use it with paragraphs, right? You can use different icons, UI icon library. So there are a lot of modules which you can use. So it has lot of capabilities. So I'll be showing you how you can embed a particular pattern onto a page, and from there I think we can take it up. So let me go to extend. I'll show you the UI. If I say UI, so you can see list of modules, right? And then if I quickly show you the block layout. So in this particular instance, I'll be using UI patterns blocks module to embed a component via block. So uh, if you click on that place block, right, you can see these are the core Drupal blocks. And if you keep on scrolling, you see now you have all the bootstrap blocks as well, which is provided by your theme, right? So if you go into the code, you will see a component directory in that theme. In that particular directory, these components will have their own YML pattern YML file, which I'll be also showing you how a YML pattern YML file look like also in my, when I'll share the slides again. And how you create those particular patterns. So for now, let's choose one. So let me just quickly have a carousel on the page. Let's see some action. So let's call it Drupal call Drupal for holy celebration. So we have this holy festival. It's a festival of colors. If you see my background also, like, it is depicting that particular festival. So now I'm placing a carousel onto a page, and it has different variations. Uh, yeah, I'll be using a crossfade variation. And then what you do in carousel is you add slides, right? So you can pick anything, right? To create that slide also, you have different options. You can use block, WYSIWYG, text field, right? But I'll have a component, because I know, like, this bootstrap theme also comes with your carousel item component. So when you select uh, a carousel component, it also comes with a carousel item component, and I'm embedding a component inside a component, right? And now you see I have this carousel item component, and it has already predefined slots. image and caption. If I do not use that, then I might use a field image to embed my field, right? But it has a lot of control. So maybe in this whenever you want to change the structure of your carousel item, you change the slots in your particular carousel item component. So here I'll just select an image. So for image, I'll just use a WYSIWYG. So this is Drupal. We've called Drupal for a holy celebration. And let's uh, okay, save it. Okay, the first slide is there. I'll put another slide. Again, carousel item. I'll place another image. Oh, this is the, yeah. So he's like now Drupal is playing holy. We've invited. Now he's playing. Okay, so this is how it our colors look like, and we have this pitchkari to throw colors. So this is our second image, and then just one more image will insert, and we are done. So again, carousel item, image will be a WYSIWYG. No, see, we have he has played holy. So now he has colors on his face. So I'll just quickly save this block. So this block is in the content and after primary admin actions, right? So I'll just save the block. Okay, I'll go back to my site. So now you see here is that carousel component, and you see the slides we inserted. Right. So this is how we can utilize UI patterns as blocks. So this is a very easy way of doing it, right? You can just if you have any like a page layout, you have regions, you can just place that UI patterns as a block, right? So I'll just quickly also let's create a content. Create a camping land. So you see, like, because we already have this as a block, so it will come on to all the pages. So for now, I'll just remove it. So I'll go to this page, and you can go to a layout tab, and now we will add it onto a layout, so that it will be only a page specific thing. So the same thing you get it here as UI patterns. So you can do the same thing like what I did, and you can have that particular model. So let's say if we place a card, so it has a different variations. You see horizontal default card, and then you put an image in onto a card, right? So all that you can do from here. And also like you can create this is like a pre-built suite, right? You can build your own custom suites as well. So I'll just quickly share the other code base so that I can just show you a little bit of code. I hope my screen is visible again.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so you see like I have this particular code base where we have these UI modules, and here is my that particular theme. I'll just make it bigger. Just uh, to zoom in. Okay, any which ways. So I hope this is visible, right, to all. Um, so if you see in this UI Bootstrap, we have assets, we have components, we have docs, right, and then we have the sub modules, right, and then we have some examples as well. So I'll talk about one of the components which we just inserted, right. There is a carousel component, right. So let's open this component and see like, so this is the pattern YML file. So whenever you create a pattern, it automatically it detects as a pattern in Drupal, and then you will see that in the list, and then you can embed that pattern. So this is how it looks like. So the variants we saw, right, crossfade and this, it is defined here. You just need to have a different variant, and then you have slots which we saw, right. It only has slides, and for the same, I embedded this carousel item, so I'll open that as well. So when I embedded carousel item inside the carousel, so it came up with this, right? Image and a caption field. So we have this, and then we have props. So this is really interesting here, right? So you can pass props from the site builder itself, right? You can have like various data attributes, like you need carousel with controls, with indicators, with touch. So all these will have a behavioral impact on your component in your twig files, right? So all this, when you change, let's say we want it without controls or with controls, so it will have that particular behavioral change, right? So so these are the some data attributes you can bind with your component. So the same way you have in the front end React development world as well, right? So, and if you have any libraries, explicit libraries for that component, you can just have that here, and any dependencies can go here. So now you have a full-fledged component, right? But you can also build here React components. You can build, right. You can build lightweight components, right, in your application, and maybe like the other parts of applications are using something else, but you can build a component. Let's say you will not always have a project from scratch, right? So you can build components as a progressive approach as well. So I'll quickly stop on this demo. If there are any questions from anyone, I can cater till then. I'll just be stop sharing and sharing back my slides. Yeah, any questions from anyone? Okay. So I think we saw this, right? We saw how we can integrate and reuse a component. So this is this slide is from my another session where I used this Daisy suite, right? So there was a carousel component. It's the same carousel component in Daisy suite looks like this. So it has different props, slots, right, and variants. So this is how the twig file looks like. So let's say now they are using vertical variant, right? So there is some other template. You can put conditions, you can put classes for those variants, props, right? You can use all that in your twig file. Well, I'll not get into that deep. Yeah, this is how it looks like when we had that crawl component onto our page. So that is, I think, pretty much it from my end. If there are any questions, I can surely take that up.
Any questions? I think it's quiet.
Okay, so I'll just quickly share my last slide. Uh, so you can also scan this code and you'll be landing up on my LinkedIn profile. Just say hi to me, and if you have any questions or you need any help, right, related to any architectural stuff or any like I'm a very good front end as well as full stack developer. So any help you need in any of the areas, I'll be happy to help. and do come to India. Say hi to me. Come to India, and yeah, I can host you.